Dude, I got one too.
Hey guys, Tim from Great Lakes Fly, and today I'm going to be showing you how I put together a homemade version of the Automatic Fisherman. Now I want to say right away, this isn't my idea. Somebody else came up with using the PVC pipe to put this together. I think my spin on it was spray painting it red, so it kind of looks a little bit more like the Automatic Fisherman. And the trigger mechanism, although the coat hanger is 100% the primary way that most people are making the trigger mechanisms, um, I make mine as close to the automatic as possible, and I'll show you what that is in a little bit. But yeah, this video is just going to show you how I put it together and then how I set it up and then a few pictures of it in action.
Alright guys, so here's all the pieces you're going to need. Everything but the rod holder is 1 inch in diameter, so the rod holder is this guy, and that's a weird dimension, so I'll get to that in a second. But all these different pieces are 1 inch diameter, so if this isn't making sense or when you're buying the material, start out with a 1 inch PVC pipe and just find your fittings. The names that I got, I don't know these. I've done a lot of like building springs, things like that, irrigation. So I just kind of put together what works, and I know the sizes, female to male, things like that. But these are just names I got off the internet. So if they're not correct, you should still be able to find them. So obviously these are just 1 inch pipe, and they make pre-cut stuff, or like I forget how long they are, like 8-foot pieces or 10-foot, and then chop them up with a saw, or you can use I use my circular saw because it's super fast, or you could use hacksaw. That's only a little bit longer. The next thing is the device that the trigger is going to go into. It's called a PVC slip cap. It's 1 inch. I have it painted red, so let's get that in the light. All right, so there you can see, and I have the screw eye. That's what this is called, this metal part here, and then obviously the trigger, but I'll talk about that later. Then I have the 1 inch elbow fitting. This is actually two things. I don't believe I could find a name for this part. But when you're putting this stuff together, unfortunately, I can't pull this off to show you what this is, because this I do glue on, the rest I don't. This is a bend elbow, they were calling this. This is going to be some type of elbow, but you've got basically a female part and a male part, so just keep that in mind. If you don't know what that means, this is female, and then something that goes into it is male. So just kind of think about that when you're putting this together. These are more of the straight pipes, and this guy was called a cross pipe fitting. This is what basically you're going to have your structure. This is the part that keeps it from falling left to right, and the part that the rod holder and the trigger set up into. The arms, and then the rod holder. I got my calipers here. It's a weird diameter, so this is going to measure out. Let's see. So this is measuring out. I'll do it under the light here, so it's a little bit better. Let's see. Get the inside diameter. So 1.34. So it's just over 1 1/4 inch. It fits the rod really good. You really kind of want a solid rod holder for this, so that's why I like this measurement. So it's 1.5 inches. Would probably be just fine too. It's only a little bit more. The outside diameter is 1.66 inches. So I'm not sure what's up with this, but it's just kind of a weird diameter.
All right, so let's take the longer pieces and we're going to fit them into the cross pipe fitting. So that's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Then we're going to take the piece that's going to make up the base of the rod holder. I put a little bit of tape on there so it holds the rod holder. I don't want to glue this part because it really helps them with taking it apart, but there's the rod holder, and I got the tape there. Just a thin layer helps stick that on. Then we're going to get the little side pieces to help stabilize it. Those are about 4 to 5 inches wide. And then that's 6 inches, and that's 6 inches as well. The rod holder 6 inches. All right, so that's just a little 1 inch piece. It's about 2 inches long. This is what's going to make up the trigger. I got that stuck in there to that elbow piece. Here's a slip cap with the trigger, obviously. Pop that on there. Super easy. And there you have it. All right, so now we got the wire hanger, and this one's actually coated, so if you do use a coated one, you might want to use a little sandpaper, but you might not need that. I actually like the little bit extra chips of paint and stuff because it helps the tip of the rod stick sometimes to the actual trigger mechanism. Here I'm using the little eye as a fulcrum. I'm going to bend it. You know, this wire is really stiff. It's not the ideal wire, but it's what I just had on hand. And then I'm going to use my pliers to spin it around. You really only need to do it one good time for it to stick. You don't need a whole bunch of rotations because this is very stiff wire. So there we go. Bend into this around. I'll leave it nice and long because I don't know how my rod's going to respond to it. So I don't want to cut it too short because I want to pick a good rod. Each rod is pretty much unique to your trigger. And then here's the actual mechanism here that the line's going to sit in. So I'm going to bend that towards me. I'm going to bend it down. So kind of working with the wire, it's very stiff, like I said. And then I'm going to bend it up. Now this isn't the best example of what I'd like, but I'd like a nice V shape that offsets the trigger mechanism. But the line will sit in there, and I'll show you here in the next little part how that sits in the little cradle there. All right, so we got our rod holder, trigger mechanism. Let's get the rod in there. Real simple. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you set this up, and then after that, I'm going to show you how I rig it. In case you've never used a auto before, there's a few things you need to know. So obviously the butt of the reel goes in the rod holder, basic stuff, and so there's a reason why I didn't bend this down. Let's get that so we can see it and move it at all, because I want to see how this rod tip fits in there. Now this is the same rod that I use for this particular trigger, so it's set pretty good. But this is why I talk about having a little bit of paint chips on there. It gives it something to grip, and you kind of have to fine tune this. You don't want it to get stuck on this, but you don't want it to be flying off premature. You don't want wind to be setting this off. So first I'm going to push this all the way down because I'm going to be showing you stuff. If I put it up any higher, moving it around will probably set it off. This flag here will not actually affect this thing being set off. I put the flag on so when this thing pops, I don't want to question in my mind if it's gone off. Because when the brown trout hit, you sometimes only have a few seconds to get over there. So I put the flag on there, not only because it's flagged, but and that's fun, just like a tip up, but it's that extra guarantee, because when it's about 100, 200 feet away and you're looking, you might not be able to see the rod tips up. That few seconds it takes you to understand you've got a fish on, I'm trying to cut down on that. So that's why I put this on there. The rod tip went in there, and then we're going to put the line in the little cradle here, and then we got the bobber, so when the brown trout hits, pops up, and the thing flies off. All right, so for the trigger mechanism, how I said it's like the auto, is the trigger itself is placed further up close to the little cradle where the line gets held, and that's similar to how the automatic works. I actually used to set it back more towards the screw eye, and what I find is that there's a slight delay in how the trigger will get set, and I believe that's probably why the automatic is also made that way, is that it allows for the trigger to drop a lot easier when the line gets pulled. So that's kind of my little spin on how I do that and why it's similar to the auto and a little bit different than what other people might be doing. So yeah, this is my spin on the Automatic Fisherman. Like I said, I really haven't done anything different than what other people done other than spray paint it red. I mean, that's really the biggest thing, and works really good. I've caught a lot of other different species on it: perch, walleye, pike, bass, on top of quite a bit of brown trout. So hope you guys have fun making this, and I hope you guys have fun out there fishing this winter. So good luck to you. Be safe and tight lines. There it is. Fatty. Look at that fatty. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Female too. Give her some squeeze. Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn, you got it. Good
Did
girl.
you?